Hello, my name is Dr. Gail Ridge. I'm an entomologist at the Connecticut Agricultural Experiment Station.
Hey, my name is Washington da Silva. I am a virologist at the station too, working on plant viruses.
And we will be doing a presentation about the Lockwood Farm Vineyard, and we will explore the history, what we are planning to do today with the vineyard, and to close with some information. In 1978, the Connecticut State Legislature established a legal right for farm wineries to make and sell wine. The act was called the Farm Wine Act, and then immediately the experiment station established a vineyard under the leadership of Dr. Gerald Walton, who planted 7 cultivars of grapes at the farm. The following year, he then planted another vineyard up at our satellite institution, the Valley Laboratory in Windsor, with 8 more cultivars. Then in 1990, the baton was passed to Dr. Richard Kiyomoto, who continued the research. He added 15 new grape varieties and also developed pruning and training methods and tested them. There are a number of pruning techniques, and a couple I can mention now. One is called the vertical shoot pruning, which is basically working with the grape at waist height. So you have the main trunk, and then at about 3 feet height, the branches will be trained sideways like a T. These woody stems will produce new growth every spring, and on the new growth are where the grapes develop. This new growth will go vertically like a fan and is woven through supported wires. The other training technique is called the Hudson River umbrella. You grow the main trunk much longer, up to 5 to 6 feet in length, again growing lateral branches from the top. These lateral branches are called codons, and then training the new growth downward, but you're working over your head. The Hudson River umbrella technique produces a heavier crop yield than the vertical shoot pruning, but it's more work. Then he also developed relationships with vineyards around the state and visited growers to talk and work with them on disease.
Yes, so Dr. Kiyomoto, he started this process of providing expertise to the new emerging industry, which is the wine grape industry in Connecticut. Back then, the major disease that affect the grapes around here are most caused by fungi and found fungi-like microorganisms. But then, in 2000, Dr. William Nell, he took over the research, the grape research here at the station state, and he ended up having 34 different cultivars being planted at Lockwood Farm in Himrod and also the Valley Lab in Windsor. And he was conducting research again how to maintain those plants, and he kept with the various pruning training because each cultivar needs different training. That's what his hypothesis was. And he was looking into plant disease resistance, and how to apply chemicals to control and to manage disease. He published a number of grape resource, nice bulletins and information on plant disease and managing all the grapes around the state. And then in 2013, Dr. Ferrandino took over the grape research, and he was focused on disease and how grape disease was could be managed in the state. But he also was started being a member of the National Grape Research Initiative, where the idea from this initiative was to develop new grape varieties that were tailed to the country, USA, And then they need to test those varieties in different locations within the country to be very representative of the country. And the satellite place for the New England area chose was Connecticut. And Dr. Ferrantine took that into the initiative and started conduct the research here and sending data and also material to other universities, other institutes to be tested. And majorly they were looking for how those different new varieties of grapes will perform in different locations in the country, especially in the drainage, in the soil type, response to the winter, and how those factors would play in terms of the flavor of the grapes, the yield they would get, and how all that would play into the quality of the wine developed. And then in 2018, I came along and took over the research, the grape research project. I am a plant virologist, so I'm very interested in viruses, and that seems to be the major problem we have right now. Because fungal disease we can easily control with a fungicide, but not so much viruses. There is no viricide available, so we are trying to see what the best way to manage those virus disease here in the state of Connecticut. And I am using those grapes at the farms we have to do outfield studies. And the future will pass along to my colleague, Gail Rigid.
So what we're going to do for the future is to stabilize the vineyard and prune the grapes to the vertical shoot pruning technique. It is easier to work with because you're working at waist height. It also permits equipment to go between the rows easily for spring spraying, which is vital to protect the grapes from disease. Wet, cool springs can create havoc with vineyards, and so the spraying is absolutely crucial to get you through a very delicate period. We're also preserving these heritage grape varieties, and as a winemaker, I have noticed that these particular varieties can yield some very interesting tastes. One of the varieties of wines that we have is the Dornfelder. The Dornfelder is a very heavy grape, heavy red, and the French winemakers will actually use it to blend with other reds to deepen the tone in color and give a richness of flavor. Another is the Chambourcin, a delightful light red, as well as the Skundjish, which is an ancient Latvian grape, which has quite a tale of how it came out and was brought to the United States, but we won't go into that right now. And it has a delicious pineapple flavor. It's a very golden white grape. And so as a winemaker and with the other winemakers, it is such an opportunity to play with blends. And so part of our future is to have a team of volunteers. Working in a vineyard is very labor intensive. It needs a lot of handwork. You just can't use a machine in a vineyard because there's a lot of decisions that have to be made with each vine that you work with. And so we currently have a group of citizen winemakers, and they're assisting in cultivating the vineyard. So in the spring, they'll prune, and then in the summer, in June and early July, the volunteers come back to train the new growth into the trellis framework, which is supporting the vines and clipping out the leaves in certain specific locations to allow the sunlight to come through and keep the vines aerated. And then, of course, in the fall, you have this wonderful harvest. And this last fall, we had a white wine grape that matured late, and there was a frost. And so the following morning, myself and another volunteer, John, flew down to the vineyard and harvest these frozen grapes. We then made wine from them, and this is a very special wine called ice wine, which is extremely sweet because the freezing conditions causes the vine to react and boost the sugar within the grapes. And this is a highly prized, very valuable wine, and it produced a delicious wine. So, you know, becoming a volunteer is going to be an adventure. Because you just never know what's going to happen. We will be working in 3 vineyard fields. The west field has a high variety of different grapes. The south is dominated by the whites, and then the east is all Chardonnay. So the upshot of this is that you're going to learn how to manage a vineyard. You're going to also learn how to manage diseases, and also have the opportunity of having all these different varieties of grapes at hand, so you can, for instance, make jelly and jam, clearly wine. You like to do juice making with it?
Yeah, extracted juice. I also love making bread, so I use grapes to give some flavors to bread, and also to make a starter as a yeast to start the process of making bread.
Yeah. So the information that you can use to help become more knowledgeable about the care of grapes is available on our website. And we have future plans for this particular part of the project.
Yes, we are working on a brand new website where you're gonna have all this information added into it. And just a simple click, you can find disease, you can find information on how to establish a vineyard, how to manage it to the level of home grower to industrial grower. And that will be available very soon. So there will be our new website.
And I think that's all for today. Thank you very much for joining us and listening to this presentation. We're very sorry we couldn't meet you because of the pandemic, but with luck next year we'll be back at the farm to welcome you and to show you a beautiful vineyard. Again, we would be delighted if you would like to volunteer. And with that,
yeah, that's it. Thank you very much for listening. I hope
thank you.
You learned something new today.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.